and welcome to Never Seen It, a podcast about movies we haven't seen yet. My name is Trent. I'm sitting here with Betsy.
Sometimes we watch movies that we haven't seen.
That's the name of the podcast. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. Betsy, we are at the end of June. That means we're at the end of our lady-centric series of movies. Ladies, you've had enough. Get out of here.
It's the end. It's time for men again.
The time for women is over. It's time to bring back the men.
Not quite yet.
Not quite. Today, we are finishing up this series with a movie that has the word woman in the goddamn title. We're doing Wonder Woman, and Betsy, we talked about this a little bit at the end of the last episode. We do not cover DC movies, and so far, we haven't covered anything in the DCU.
No, if listeners have been following this show for a while, they know that we have spent a lot of time watching Marvel movies. That's who we are. We fell into the Marvel trap. But the DCU is so foreign to me because I just hear so many mixed things. It is certainly more chaotic and much less successful continuously than the MCU has been. Yeah, so there's something about it that drives me away.
Yeah, there's this thing about it that I feel like there isn't a continuity. You can look at the Marvel movies and see either setting up the next movie and the next movie and like 15 movies in the future. But DC, it seems like they're just kind of throwing things out there. I haven't seen any DCU movie, at least the ones that are considered canon in the DCU. You, however, have seen one. You saw Man of Steel, the first one with Henry Cavill. So, I mean, I remember you seeing it by yourself. You tagged along with me on a work trip to Fargo, of all places, and while I was doing my work meetings, you just went to the theater that was just next to our hotel.
I didn't have anything else to do. I was by myself. So you dropped me off at the closest movie theater, and I just went to whatever was playing next, and it happened to be Man of Steel.
Right. Not because you had any kind of inkling to go and watch the Superman movie.
No, I was really not that interested. And I don't even remember the experience. I don't think I hated it. I think it was fine. But I've never revisited it. There are details about it I have completely forgotten, like the fact that Amy Adams is in Man of Steel.
Okay.
Right? She plays Lois Lane, Trent.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is where they kind of started the modern DCU, was with Man of Steel.
And whether or not they had this grand plan. I know they didn't have a grand plan after Iron Man came out. But, you know, considering that the MCU had already kind of started, and then DC started with Man of Steel, you would have thought they would have put a little bit more thought into it, but no.
That's the sense I get, that the MCU, they had a lot more people with a distinct vision of, we're going to put these movies out in this order, and this is where it's going. DC, the sense I've always gotten is, we're trying to compete with Marvel. It never really feels like much more than that to me. And this is all being said as somebody who, as we just mentioned, has only seen Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And we have talked for years, do we do it? Can you do it without watching all of these movies? And every time we've brought this up, we get a handful of movies back from people who have seen them all saying, these are the ones you should watch.
Yeah, we have put out the call asking, okay, if we were to do a DC movie out of the DCU, is there one that we can just hop into and just have a grand old time? It's been two results. It's been the Suicide Squad movies and Wonder Woman, which is exactly what we're doing today. So we say all that because we don't really have much to say about this movie and about this thing. My reference for Wonder Woman comes from the Super Friends cartoon from whenever the fuck that aired. I watched it when I was a kid, and I thought it was boring as shit.
I never saw that. I also don't think I ever saw the Linda Carter TV show.
Nope, neither have I.
So I have this image of Linda Carter as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, we have covered a movie with her in it on this podcast, because if you recall, she showed up in the second Super Troopers movie.
Again? So I know she was in the first one. I don't remember her showing up in the second.
That movie clearly made an impact on you, but she was definitely in that movie.
All right, fine.
That being said, I never watched the old TV show. I've never read the comics. I've never seen any other iterations of Wonder Woman. The only thing I know about this movie when it came out, it is directed by a woman. It has a huge female cast. Obviously, it launched Gal Gadot into stardom, superstardom.
Yeah. We have covered Gal Gadot movies, but only in the Fast and Furious chronology.
Exclusively Fast and Furious. So this is the only time we will have seen her outside of that franchise.
Yep.
I know Chris Pine is in it.
Yep.
I know Robin Wright is in this.
I did know that.
I used to, I think, know some of the other women, but I couldn't remember now who they are off the top of my head.
Okay. What do you know about Wonder Woman, the character?
I know she's like an Amazonian woman from like a female society. Like it is they're all female warrior society. And she has cuffs that like dodge bullets, and she has a lasso of truth or something.
She has a golden lasso, and from the cartoon, I know she has an invisible plane.
She has an invisible plane.
An invisible jet.
We'll see if that comes into play in this.
I highly doubt it.
But here's the other thing I seem to recall about this. This takes place in the 40s, does it not?
I think it does, and I know there's a sequel to this movie that is called Wonder Woman 1984. So how the hell is Wonder Woman showing up in the DCU with Batman and Superman, but she's from the 40s, and like, how does she get does she actually have powers, or is it just these gadgets? Is she like a Batman?
All of these things I hope we will have answered for us, but I genuinely
honestly do not know anything more than that.
My knowledge of this character from any source material is basically none. And this movie, I'm so far removed from it now. But when we were talking about doing this series, it's like, we have to do Wonder Woman.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for years.
If we are going to do Wonder Woman ever, outside of the context of a DC series, this is the time. This is the moment. We need to finally buckle down and see this movie that so many people tell us is incredible.
All right, we're going to do what Betsy just said. We're going to go to watch Wonder Woman. We will be right back. And we are back from seeing Wonder Woman. Betsy, what did you think of our first foray into the DCU?
I would like to apologize to all the nerds out there for what I'm about to say. If this is one of the best the DCU has to offer, I'm a little underwhelmed. I'm not going to lie. I have really tried to temper my expectations for this movie because I have heard for 7 years that this is an amazing movie. I'm sitting here trying to contemplate, is it superhero fatigue, etc.? No, I just think that maybe this movie is not as good as I was led to believe it is. I don't think it's bad. I don't think this was a bad movie. There were parts of it I like, but I don't think that the sum of its parts was as good as people for 7 years have been telling me it is.
Let's break down those parts, shall we?
I mean, we will, but I think from that reaction or your lack of shock on your face, you're inclined to agree with me.
I'm not going to disagree here because I'm sitting here right now in 2024. We're halfway through this year, Betsy, and we have seen almost every single Marvel thing that they've put out since the MCU was born in 2008. And sitting here right now, the filmmakers have had a whole swath of other movies to look at and learn from and know how to introduce a main character to this entire DCU fan base, of which there were a lot. A lot of people really like these characters, these comic books, these heroes.
Or just comic books in general, comic book lovers, not people who are exclusive to loving the MCU as film goers.
Yeah. So that all being said, it seems like this movie was made in about 2010. Like, they just didn't take any of the lessons and the ways of you introducing these characters and giving somebody a backstory. They didn't take any of those lessons. Honestly, it just seems like the original Thor movie, which was fine, just like this movie is fine. But if they really wanted to knock my socks off, you're nowhere near where you needed to be.
And like I said, I'm trying really, really hard to separate the two things. I'm not trying to compare MCU and DCU. I'm really, really trying not to. They are their own separate things. But I think there is a reason the DCU is constantly lagging behind Marvel. And structurally, yes, we get the introduction. We get a little bit of her origin story. We're introduced to who the villain is. Then plot twist, the villain isn't who she thought it was, which I kind of figured given the amount of time that was left in the movie. But there were so many things in this that were just darn predictable. Like, we're on this island with all the Amazons, and I'm sitting here going, somebody's going to die here, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to die.
Yeah, it's just going to happen.
She's not just going to go out into the world. Either this entire society is going to get wiped out and she's the only survivor, or someone close to her is going to die. Now, I thought it was going to be her mom. It was her mentor, her trainer. It was the Robin Wright character.
Right.
And then there were other things where it's like, okay, you've got Chris Pine, very handsome man, and, you know, they've got okay chemistry. I don't think they had like crackling, incredible chemistry between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. But okay, we're getting the seeds of a love story in here. Fine, okay, that's all right. And I believe his side of it. And I don't need her to be in love with him because she's kind of this beautiful fish out of water.
She just is.
She just is, right? So she's oblivious to anything he is feeling. Okay, I'm on board with that storyline. But then, like, they kiss out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this doesn't make sense at this point of the story for the way the movie then proceeds. There's stuff that happens where I'm like, people then after that thing happens don't react the way they should be reacting.
And this is independent to this being a superhero movie.
Yeah, this is just structurally a story thing.
Absolutely. This is a fundamental flaw with the storytelling of this movie. When you have this fish out of water story where this person, whether she's a goddess of Amazonia or not,
who was molded out of clay and brought to life by the powers of Zeus.
Regardless of that, if it's just this woman who's never seen a man before in her life, why? Why in the fuck in like 2 days, 3 days max, you fall in love with this handsome man?
Except that's the thing. I don't think she falls in love with him. But that's sort of where they lead you to believe by the end.
By the end of it,
I'm like,
it absolutely is.
But he says, I love you. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, fine. But she never says it back. And there's never really a moment where we solidify it. Like, for being over 2 hours long, this movie gave me nothing. Like, I was given so much, like, it flew by. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't mind the runtime, because it was fast. But in that 2.5 hours, there were just some details I needed. I was missing like more development of the relationship. I think we spent way too long with the Amazons at the beginning. I think we didn't spend enough time with Chris Pine. We got to the end and then it was just fucking over. Yeah, it's just the way it unfolded. There were so many things and characters that were introduced. And then it's like, we're going to go to a gala. We go to the gala. Oh, no, we have to go back to the village. We were at the gala for like 10 minutes, but we were talking about the gala for so long.
I feel like here, the writers and filmmakers here really wanted to emphasize the emotional impact, the emotional moments, but I felt nothing. In the early parts where you're getting the kid, you're getting her as a little girl, for fuck's sake. She's growing up and she's being all badass and she's learning all this stuff. Great. But you never really had the deep relationship that they clearly had with the Robin Wright character and Gal Gadot. You didn't have that. So when she dies, who cares? Yeah. Really?
It's just, oh, okay, she's gone. Because like I said, I fucking called it. I knew someone was going to die. And then when she dies and Diana is wailing, like, well, yeah.
Okay, fine.
That's what was going to happen here.
Fine. I just don't care. We haven't spent enough time with this character. If that was going to happen, have it be, later. Have it be later. Or she comes back to the island and somehow the entire village is under attack and she comes in and she's just do something else.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a death in that family, do it later. Because, 10, 20 minutes into the movie, I can't have this emotional connection with this person.
Yeah, I would say of everybody in the movie, the characters that are the most memorable, the most developed in a small amount of time are Chris Pine and Etta, his secretary. Like, honestly, she is a fucking delight, and I'm going to remember her because she comes on screen immediately. We introduce her so quickly and give so much information, but I know who she is, I know what she's about, and I care about Etta. I kind of didn't care about anybody else in this movie. Like, the queen of the Amazons, meh. The general, all the other women, none of the other women had names or interesting backstories. We didn't get any of that. For the amount of time we spent there, I don't know who these people are. And it can be done. You referenced the first Thor movie. They introduced so many people in the first 10 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
And it fucking works. Why? Because they had really good writers thinking about how do we dispense all of this information in the shortest amount of time possible? And I give that credit to maybe like a Kenneth Branagh who directed it. I don't remember. I think he wrote it too, or at least co-wrote it.
I think he had something to do with that, yes.
But he's a really good storyteller.
He's a great storyteller. He's another good actor too. So it also takes sometimes an actor to direct something that is very complicated. And if you go back and watch Thor, the first Thor movie is told in a grand Shakespearean way when they're in Asgard. When they go to Earth, it's just a comedy.
But it's fucking funny. This one is not that funny.
No, there's hardly any comedy in this whatsoever. And I think maybe that's what's missing between DC and Marvel. This one movie we've watched of the DC universe, hardly anything. The only comedy we got is when she is this fish out of water. She's like fucking, what's her name, in Splash.
I was thinking of Splash.
She's going to all these shops and trying on clothes and just being awkward. That was good.
Yes, I liked the part when they went to London. That was the part of the movie that I liked the best.
This is London? It looks hideous.
Where they kind of had a little humor. She was a fish out of water. She is like having a montage there. She doesn't understand the societal norms of London in the 1900s. And so she is acting as normally as she would. She's like taking her robe off and she's basically naked as far as Victorian society is concerned.
Sure.
And they're like, no, let's keep that cape on. Let's keep that clothes because we need to get you some clothes. And she's trying out the outfits and she's just like, how do women find this? That whole sequence was funny. I really enjoyed this. And this was where I felt like it had the most strength.
And it should have kept on going down that road. But it should have kept on going. Just like I said about Asgard, okay, that's the Shakespeare over here. And over here in the real world, you can be funny. Chris Pine is too fucking serious in this movie.
Yeah, and he is a fucking charming, hilarious guy.
Absolutely. I have no problem with his performance whatsoever here. And I think their dynamic kind of works because he's not trying to, I don't really know what to say here, but he's not trying to hit on her.
He's not taking advantage of a situation.
No. He is kind of being that gentleman, but in a modern context, because Chris Pine looks like Chris Pine no matter what decade you put him in. And you plop him into 1918, he kind of sticks out, and so does she. But like the moment when they're on the boat together, number one was way, way too long. Them kind of interacting for this first time while they're alone together, as it were. They're talking about sleeping together. They're talking about marriage. They're talking about
human sexuality,
the human pleasure.
Yeah.
And apparently a lot of that was improvised, and that's fine. But
okay, if it's going to be improvised, could it at least be funny? Because it was just so much. It was so long. That scene went on for a really long time.
Like I said, but you can't really have that kind of humor when when this character is from 1918.
Speaking of, I was definitely wrong about that.
Same.
I was completely convinced this was World War II.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Chris Pine crashes his plane and then we're getting the flashback. He's telling the truth through, the lasso of truth, as I said, of him saying, I'm a spy and this is how I got here. And I'm looking around going, this doesn't look like World War II.
This kind of looks like the Iron Cross. There's got this, there's got that.
Yeah.
This is not Nazis.
I don't know how I missed that memo. I have absolutely no idea how I didn't know the difference between the two world wars in this movie.
Well, you know the difference, but
in the movie, though.
I was under the impression that, yes, this was going to be a World War II thing. But, going, again, we're going to keep on talking about Marvel movies. When we watched the first Captain America movie, that movie is good, number one. Number two, these characters are very, very similar. With the shield and them basically being indestructible and all that other shit. And them being in this world and not really fitting in this world. And maybe in the comic books when they were creating the Wonder Woman character, Captain America had already existed, so he has claim on World War II, so they made this one a World War I thing.
And that's the thing, I have no idea if she in the comics takes place in World War I or they just did that for the movie, because she's timeless and can be anywhere.
So that's the thing. The one thing I was thinking about, and I know we're hopping all around here because this movie is, I don't really know what to say.
We have issues with it.
Yeah.
That's what you have to say, is we have issues with it.
Yeah, and the thing I kept on thinking in my brain the entire way is that she's just good at everything. She knows how to fight really well. She looks really good. She knows how to dress very well.
She's strong, and she is like the best at jumping and punching rocks, and she can lift things and lasso things.
She is every superhero in one person. She's the Hulk. She's very, very strong and can pick up a tank and throw it at somebody.
She's the Black Panther.
She's Black Panther because she is living in this fantasy world that
Secret island bubble.
Yes. She is Captain America with the shield.
She is Thor because she's the child of a god.
Yeah.
She is all the things. And I really wish I was a student of comic books, because I know that that's part of the comic book pantheon, really, where Marvel would do one thing, DC would do something to match. DC would do something, Marvel would do something to match. And so there are characters that are kind of point to point the same in each universe. It's just their interpretation of an idea. But you're right. I don't know where Wonder Woman falls into that. As far as I'm aware, she is one of the older superheroes. I'm pretty sure she is like 30s, 40s is the first time she showed up. But it is really, really hard when all you have is the context of the movies that you've seen.
Yeah, and we're not criticizing a comic book right now. We're criticizing this movie.
Yeah.
And this is all we have to go off of. And these are the thoughts that we are having. And I'll be honest, I didn't really have a good time. There wasn't a great moment until the twist. I really like the twist where you find out, no, it's not this other guy. It's the guy you met before. It's the good guy. It's the guy that she really likes.
But as I said, I figured it wasn't Danny Houston when she killed him and nothing changed. It was like,
well, of
that's
course.
too anticlimactic. There's too much of this movie left. But it did beg the question, who is it? I kind of figured it was that guy, because I've seen enough movies to know that there's a very short list of people in this movie it could be.
You're right, but I wasn't thinking about him at all.
Did you have a theory on who you thought Ares was? Or did you believe the Chris Pine theory that Ares wasn't real, he wasn't going to be a factor in this movie?
Well, I'll tell you this. I wasn't expecting a Greek mythology lesson in this Wonder Woman movie. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, Trent, it gets a lot worse, because I don't know if the listeners know this, but your wife and co-host was a classics major.
Yes.
Wonder Woman's mom is referred to as Hippolyta.
Uh-huh.
That is a daughter of Ares, but it's fine. For the context of the movie, we'll pretend that that's not real.
These were written a long time ago, Betsy.
But here's the thing. The classics were written a lot longer ago.
I know this.
And the people who are writing the comic books could fucking fact check some things. If you're gonna name people after gods, could you at least not name a counter character as someone who is relevant to their immediate family?
Betsy, my history with Greek mythology is the God of War video game series. So going into this, I knew these names. I knew that Zeus is the father of all the gods and Ares is the God of War, and Kratos is in there somewhere. So I can't criticize this movie for being, not just the movie, but the character and the history here. I can't criticize it for the Greek stuff when Thor is all Norse mythology.
There was a funny moment in this where she's like showing off all the languages she can speak to the little guy they meet in the bar whose name completely I didn't memorize because I don't care.
Nope, don't care.
She says in ancient Greek, "Can you recite Socrates in the original ancient Greek?" And I had to go, yeah, I took ancient Greek in college. So strictly speaking, a part of me could.
At one time or another, yes, you could.
I do have my Greek books in this house.
They're on the shelf.
I could look up some Greek for you at any time.
Okay, I think we will spare our listeners you reading them Greek. But before we move on, let's take a break here for a word from our sponsor.
Patreon.com/neverseenapod. 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 Hi, we're Betsy and Trent, the incredibly beautiful and talented hosts of Never Seen It with Betsy and Trent. Due to a factory error, we are now overstocked on podcasts, and we are passing this deal on to you. For the low, low price of $5 a month, you can get Never Seen It Movie Club, Real Love, Box Set, The Wayback Machine, and so much more. So come on down to patreon.com/neverseenapod and claim these amazing deals today.
So we should, probably talk about the main character here, the main actress, Gal Gadot. And it is Gadot, by the way. When she says her name, that's how she says it. It's not Godot.
It's really her disadvantage that a well-known property with the name Godot existed before she became really famous, because I think people can't help themselves because they've heard Godot and they assume it's the same thing. But no, Gadot.
But what did you think of her performance here?
So I was thinking while we watched this, I couldn't remember if the Batman Superman movie had come out before this. And you just looked up really quickly before we were recording that, like Spider-Man when he showed up in Civil War, she actually showed up in that movie before Wonder Woman ever came out. And I had kind of been wondering that. And that makes sense because at the beginning of this movie, she is receiving a case from Wayne Enterprises with a handwritten note from Bruce Wayne.
And so this is in modern times because there's computers and everything around there.
And I knew she was in the Batman Superman movie and Justice League and all the new stuff. So that didn't surprise me at all that we start in present day. And then we get all the flashbacks and everything. But Gal Gadot herself, she's fine. I don't know. It's a really, really difficult role. And I think she is probably the best casting you were ever going to get. She's not like a super involved character in this movie.
No.
So I felt like I didn't really get to see her stretch a lot of acting muscles, because when she is acting really big, it's the kind of like, Steve, no!
Yeah, it's the big Shakespearean stuff.
Not even Shakespearean. It's melodramatic bullshit is what it is.
Fine.
Every time she is acting, it's so big that I'm like, I don't feel like this is real emotion. I feel like she is doing what she was told and she is acting in a comic book way.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of a disservice to her because of what this movie really is. The beginning of the movie is her growing up. They have this big training sequence and she basically doesn't speak until they're on the battlefield on the beach. And that's the first time we really hear her speak.
Yeah, it's a lot of her standing around looking beautiful and trying to get approval from her mother.
Right. And then later on, when she actually goes into the real world, she's kind of just standing there looking pretty and having all the men comment on her beauty.
But again, when we get off the island to London, this is where I actually liked it. This is the chunk of the movie I really enjoyed, where she got to be kind of funny at times, and she was charming. And
she also got involved in the men talking about the war.
Yes. And so she was like getting in their faces, and you know, putting it in 1918 is actually really interesting because you are in a world where it's very much a male-dominated world. They have a comment about how women don't have the right to vote yet.
Yeah, the secretary was talking about gaining suffrage.
When she walks into that room, all the men are like, "There's a woman in here. Oh my God. Oh,
right. That was a good scene.
We can't keep talking." And she doesn't get it because she comes from a female society where they have concluded that men aren't necessary. They just aren't. It's fine.
I mean, I would have liked them to go into more of that. Like, what is this society? Because yes, we get this story time telling of where these Amazonian people came from, and they talked about this weapon, and they keep on talking around what this weapon is, because at first they imply that the weapon is the island itself, and then they talk about this fucking sword that the mother brings her to and says, no, you must not use this. Then they also have the fucking lasso there that they barely talk about. So what is it? And it's you, Betsy.
It's inside of her.
Of you. You are the weapon.
Right. And we get little glimpses of it. And clearly everybody on this island knows more than they're telling Diana. And basically the big secret, the big reveal is she is the god killer. It's not a sword.
She is a goddess.
Yeah. She was given these powers by Zeus to be able to defeat Ares.
Yeah.
That's basically what's going on here. And like we get that moment at the beginning when she's going through a training sequence and she crosses her arms kind of accidentally and makes a big explosion, and everybody looks at her like, whoa, what? Okay. But they all knew she could do it, and she didn't know she could do it. And so it's that stuff where she doesn't spend time questioning, how did I do that? What just happened? We just move on to the next fucking thing.
And she doesn't question it. They don't really talk to her about it.
No, we just move on. And that's this whole movie. Something happens and we don't ask enough questions. When she gets to London, she's trying to go along with this plan, and you know, eventually, like it's funny. They're putting a team together. They're going to go to the front. Okay. But when they get there, you know, Steve's trying to stop her from going out on the field. She's in the trenches, and there's like these people who are just villagers in the line of fire. And they're talking about they've been enslaved and there's children there and they're all going to die.
We have no food. And she stops and says, okay, we need to help these people before we move on to the next thing. Even though prior to this scene, all she wanted to do was get to the front line and start fighting. So once she starts seeing the suffering and everything else that she's never seen before, that's when the real humanity comes out of her. Which, you know, that's fine. That's all well and good. She's a superhero. She should think about those things. But from this point, she just kind of becomes this badass, which is fine. But the thing that you mentioned while we were watching this, when they get to this village and they're taking everybody out and they're having this big old battle, no one around them questions, what is this woman doing here? How is she doing all this stuff? How is she picking up a tank and throwing it at someone? How is she using this golden glowing lasso to lasso people and take them out? And how is she able to jump up at this bell tower and fuck up this sniper? What the fuck? No one says a goddamn word.
There is a serious lack of amazement from anyone in this part of the movie. And that is what bothers me, I think, the most is it is 1918. You just spent the last half an hour in London setting up how it is a male-dominated world, and this woman doesn't know the rules of society, and she can't take care of herself. And she proves that, you know, they almost get busted in an alley by German spies, and she kicks their asses.
Sure.
So there's been hints of it. There's been hints that she can clearly take care of herself. Okay, fine. But then she is in the trenches. And number one, there's this really weird transition here where her back is to the camera and she takes down her hair and puts on her little like headband of justice or whatever it's called.
Sure.
And then just turns around and she's like, that's why I'm here, and whips off her cape. And we get the first big reveal, the full look of her in her outfit. And there's so much slow motion. And she just starts like banging bullets away with her cuffs. And she's just holding up her shield and bashing big grenades out of the way. And the men in the trenches go, she's taking the fire. I'm sorry.
What she's doing.
That's your reaction to this half-naked woman. 1918. She's half naked, okay?
Sure.
These men would have a lot of feelings about her appearance. And she's going out, and your concern is she's taking the bullets, not she's taking the bullets. Guys, what the? You were really not impressed with this? And you get into the village, and she's flying through the air, and all of you as a team lift up that piece of metal to launch her into a bell tower.
And up to this point, these other guys have not seen her in action.
They've never, we haven't seen her in action like this. Like we,
not
the viewer,
like this, no.
They haven't, and they just go with it. And at the end, there's no single shot of them like, jaw drop. Nothing. No, what did we just see? They just moved on.
None of them going up to her and saying, okay, what the fuck?
Who are you?
What are you? What is this thing? Or even going up to Chris Pine and asking him, where did you get this chick?
I have to assume this is a world without superheroes because this is, again, 1918. I will just keep saying this. They have set this up for the perfect context for her to be even more amazing than she would be if you put her in the present day. Like when she shows up in Batman versus Superman, okay, you've got Superman and Batman in present day. It's already established that the world has superheroes. In 1918, that wouldn't be the case. And to have it be a woman at all, and then she goes out and she does this.
Are you saying that everybody there is just in denial about what they're seeing?
Maybe because the hypermasculinity is so strong on the French front lines that they have to just be like, she's okay, I guess. Blah,
but then immediately after that, she has to get all soft again, and they have to do their little dance. And she says, "You're really close to me. I can feel your Chris Pine next to me."
Little Chris.
And of course, they also made that joke earlier in the movie about him being naked in the pool.
Yeah, and there's things like that where she's never seen a man. She's never seen a penis, certainly. But she then counters that and says that she's read about it. So there weren't any diagrams in this book? Like you're telling me you didn't see a drawing of a penis?
The first question she asked him is, are you like an average male from where you come from?
That's not what she meant. It's not what she meant.
God.
So they don't really do a very good job at setting up this romance between them. Her staring at him and him just like, covering up as quickly as possible. But then not. Okay, that's kind of funny. Then they're on the boat. That's kind of funny. When they're in London, they have a little bit more of it. Like it starts to get there. But when they actually have that moment, like the snow is falling and it's just so magical. And she's laughing in the snow. And then he walks her to her room and they just start making out. And this is what bothered me. I don't mind that they kissed. I mind that they kissed here because I feel like it would have been better if one of two things happened. One, they didn't kiss at all.
Yeah.
One would be better if he could even say he loves her, but they never kiss.
Fine.
I would have been okay with that because I think it maybe would have made some questions for her, like what could have been if they had never done that. Two would be he kisses her at the end before he sacrifices himself. Those are the places, those are the outcomes that in my brain structurally would have made sense. For them to kiss in the middle of the movie and then we never act like we kissed again. And the presumption here is they did more than kiss. Like the way that was set up feels like that went farther.
the scene where he's in the room with her and he's just staring at her, and then he steps into the room and shuts the door, implies there's some hanky-panky going on, and they never address it.
They never come back to that. No hint of it. They don't get like super casual around each other and friendly and flirty after this. They don't revisit it.
In fact, that relationship gets a little strained because of what he's preventing her from doing. So if you're talking about this in a romantic comedy sense, that's their misunderstanding. That's their obligatory breakup.
But it's just so much of that because we have to go now to a gala. They're having one last hoorah because the Germans are about to lose the war. But there is this Dr. Poison who has invented this new hydrogen poison that's gonna kill everybody. And we're gonna have this big party where we're going to demonstrate that we have this poison. And they're talking about it and they're trying to figure out how to get in. And then they get into the party and then they leave the party. It's like 2 minutes.
You have this entire set. You have all of these actors in here in their big garb.
It's an excuse to get Gal Gadot in a dress. Like, honestly.
And to have that fucking sword on her back.
Seriously, that is like a fucking money shot, and they put it in the trailer. I do remember her walking bareback with the sword handle sticking out. I feel like that's the only reason that scene's there. For her to walk in the room in a bright blue dress and the room to go, oh my God, who's this beautiful woman?
You also have the scene of Chris Pine talking to the poison lady. And what was that even about? Why was he there doing that?
He's trying to find the poison and put a stop to this. It's poorly thought out, but maybe they are trying to demonstrate that this woman isn't all bad. Even though up until this point of the movie, she is a fucking mad scientist inventing horrible gases to kill everybody.
I think also the fake out here is not that the Danny Houston character isn't Ares. It's that maybe she is. She's the one creating all of the weapons of war. She is the one doing all that stuff.
That could have been interesting. I
maybe would have rather had that. But, I mean, it's a lot more literal because the Danny Houston character is like the physical embodiment of war.
Yeah.
But she's the one actually creating the implements of war.
And she gives him that, like, special powder that just jacks him up.
Fucking, like, crank that he snorts. It's fucking weird. But,
And, like, that whole thing. Like, she just gives it to him to improve him, but it doesn't serve a purpose.
It is a temporary strength increase.
It doesn't
make him... That's all it is.
It doesn't make him a supervillain. It doesn't make him better at fighting. It doesn't give him better judgment. Okay, maybe it makes him better at fighting because he does throw a stove, I think, at Wonder Woman at one point in that fight scene.
That's why I said it is a temporary strength increase because he was able to crush that gun in his bare hands.
Did she just give him meth? Is that what she did?
Like I said.
Just smoke this.
Like I said.
My dude, you'll be so strong. And then, yeah, when they have the reveal that, oh, it's that British guy who is like, what was he, like a war secretary or something?
I have no idea. His title was Sir something or other.
Sir something or other.
Like,
the God of War.
Were we was that implied to be Parliament, or was this just like a war council?
I think it was a war council.
Okay,
sorts.
fine. So he's maybe a former military man that hung it up years and years ago, and he is trying to direct all these other war people on what to do to keep the war happening, even though
But he's also talking about peace.
Yeah, he's portraying himself as a peacemaker. However, he is, for lack of a better word, like moving the pieces around so that the war is continuing. And of course, his entire goal here, the bad guy's goal, is to have man destroy themselves and to restore Earth to a paradise.
Which I don't even know if that time existed, because he seems to think that human beings are flawed. They will always be flawed, and there's nothing you can do about it. So just let them destroy each other, and I'm going to help. Even in this scene, so she kills Danny Houston and she stabs him with the sword, and then she's amazed because it doesn't stop everything because she's made a miscalculation. He is not the God of War. She was wrong, but she leaves her sword there. And then when this other guy appears, she does the reach and she realizes she doesn't have a sword. And there's again a weird fucking cut where she like leaps to the top of the building, gets the sword, and comes back and starts pursuing him.
But we don't even see her go up there.
No.
It's just she reaches for it. It cuts to Chris Pine and his people. The next time we see her, she has the sword again. Why? Why was that there?
It would have been more interesting to see her start to fight him without it, and we have to figure out how she's gonna get it back in her hands.
All she has to do is jump up, flip around the building, land on the other side. She can grab the sword on the way over.
Or choreograph something where he like strikes at you and you leap into the air and you grab it, and then we reveal it's not the sword. But it's just so convenient that she doesn't have it. We show she doesn't have it,
and
then she just gets it.
It's also very convenient that he is just this ghost man that can teleport around.
He's a god. I'll forgive him that.
So is she, though.
She's not that kind of a god, Trent. Come on. Obviously.
And she hasn't learned how to be the god yet.
No. And then this sequence, okay, it was fine. Like the big
action sequence was fine. However, man, were they cribbing from a whole lot of other sources here.
Meaning?
You said it first. I think this description is the best. He was fucking Magneto here.
The way he's picking stuff up and
he's
throwing
just kind of throwing shit around. It's Magneto. He's Yoda. He
has the Force.
There's like fucking
things.
Matrix shit happening here.
He can fly because why not?
Seriously, I said, man, we got some Matrix shit happening here because he's flying up and she can jump up there. They can just have a fucking Dragon Ball Z fight up there.
You also pointed out in his little flashback when they show him being, sent back to Earth by Zeus with the lightning bolt, and he's like healing from his wounds. He still has his mustache. Right? You're like, he's been rocking that mustache for thousands of years.
Yeah, seriously, when Zeus strikes him down and his armor has fallen off, he has the mustache. I thought maybe you as, Ares, the god of war, would maybe have improved your look over the years. But no, that's just been you, buddy. You've had that accent this entire time.
Well, and
what does that say about the Brits?
The other thing is, Trent, the DCU had not had to digitally remove anyone's mustache yet in this part of the series.
Yeah.
They didn't have the technology. They didn't know they had the technology.
Maybe they should have done that earlier. Then they would have done it better with Henry Cavill.
Right. So Steve is on his own little mission, and they set up, again, I was very unclear about this. They've got a map. They're going to send the plane to London, and that's where this big plane of gas is going to blow up and kill everybody. And it's on a timer, and there's dynamite, etc. But they can't bring the plane down because it'll still disperse the gas. But they can blow the plane up, but they have to get the plane up in the air. So Steve, who we established at the beginning of the movie as a pilot, gets on the plane and decides he's got to sacrifice himself. And he gets up into the air and he shoots the tanks, and we don't see him die in grand tradition. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. We don't see him die, but we see a big explosion. And Diana's on the ground and she's just about to be defeated, and she sees this explosion. She goes, "Steve, no!" And it gives her strength. His death gives her strength.
Yep.
The push she needed to defeat Ares.
And Ares at that point is doing the whole, like, join me on the dark side kind of shit.
Yeah, join me and together we will rule the galaxy.
Exactly. Destroy this Dr. Death, whatever her fuck name is. She's terrible. All humanity is terrible because she's terrible. But then you can see she's fallible. She has this scar on her cheek, probably because of all of the different shit that she's been creating over the years. It's possible that it was a fucking cyanide tablet that went wrong. I've seen Skyfall. That's fucked up. But Betsy, I've been cringing this entire time you've been talking about this sequence because Captain America ends exactly the same way. There's this doomsday plane, this jet that is gonna go and destroy America. And he's up there and he can't control the plane and he has to sacrifice himself and put it into the drink. And his name is Steve. Come on.
And his name is Steve.
Come on. Okay.
Well, and the thing I was alluding to. You and I are both under the impression that Chris Pine makes a return in Wonder Woman 1984.
He does. I know he's in 84, but I don't know in what capacity. I don't know if it is the same Chris Pine that she meets in 1918 and then to 1984. I don't think that really works, Betsy, unless this plane had a time machine in it.
Continental drift.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Dial of Destiny.
For fuck's sake.
Did he also have a Dial of Destiny on the plane? Or, alternately, he crashed in the water and he was frozen in the ice for 70 years. I've heard that also works in these kinds of movies.
But he didn't have the super soldier serum, Betsy.
Or did he?
Or did he?
Maybe he had a different reaction to all that gas exploding. I don't know. But that's the sequel, and we're not talking about the sequel. So they have this big fight at the end. She defeats Ares. She goes back to present day, and she's just like, and now that's my story, and now I'm Wonder Woman, and I just go and help the humans when they need it. And I'm
forever.
Forever. And I was like, okay.
Okay. You're just going to jump up and go and punch this boat. That's what you're going to do.
No,
seriously,
excuse me, I have to go and punch this boat.
She jumped up after she sees this boat in the water, and yeah.
She heard something, and I didn't even see what it was she was looking at.
It doesn't matter.
She's got to go investigate it. Yeah. And then, something we haven't touched on yet, the CG in this movie, mixed. Very mixed. There is some that looks good. There is some that looks real bad. Like real bad.
Yeah, some of the sequences here. There was one in particular where I think it's when the big battle in the village was happening and she was in this room fighting a bunch of dudes, and then she kicks a dude out of a glass window, and as she's going through the window, it looks fine. After she comes out of the window, it looks terrible. It looks nothing like her. And then earlier on in the movie, on the beach, all that stuff looked bad. And I'll tell you this, they really liked those midair flipping around, spinning around shots on wires. And they also really like their slow-mo. And it's a cheap filmmaking trick. Slow motion makes everything look cooler, but in moderation. They did it too much.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this movie's 220. And so much of it, we could have just slimmed down and given me more time on the things I really wanted. If you had eliminated some of the bad CG and some of the slow-mo. And, did we need the sequence where her mother is telling her about Ares to be that long? It was all even slow motion animation.
Right.
It was a lot. Meanwhile, I would have loved to have more scenes of her and Chris Pine's character really getting to know each other and him introducing her to the modern world or just the world in general.
But there's no time for that, Betsy.
But there's
We're
no
in a war.
time. And just instead of spending so much time giving me backstory, and I think we've even talked about it on this podcast, not every origin story has to spend so much time on the origins. The great thing about the latest Spider-Man, we know he got bitten by a radioactive spider. We fucking seen it 500 times.
Yeah.
We didn't bother putting it in this movie.
I don't need to know what the spider looked like. I don't need to know how it happened.
When or why.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He's Spider-Man now.
I fucking know what Wonder Woman is. She's a badass bitch who comes from the Amazonians. You don't have to give me this whole I was lonely and I molded you out of clay and I asked Zeus to give you superpowers.
Well, if they're going to do that, give me more of that.
Like I said, it was too long. I didn't need them to be here for so long. Or if you're gonna really stretch it out and give me the fully developed society, but it's not that many of them. It's 40 women living on an island out in the middle of the Atlantic, question mark? Because they got to London really fucking fast.
They got to London on a boat overnight.
That's what I'm saying. And the Germans and Chris Pine were able to find them in the water. So I'm assuming this is in the mid-Atlantic somewhere.
Sure.
My synopsis is, I have problems with this movie. It is not a bad movie. I'm just, I think, disappointed because so many people have told me this is the one to see. That this is the one, that this is the best that DC has to offer. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the best they have to offer? Well, that scares the shit out of me if we were ever going to watch any of the rest of them, as if I was already not excited to do it.
I'm certainly not.
This makes me somehow less excited.
And if this, like you said, if this is the best that they've got, you're cribbing from a whole lot of other stuff here that already did it better than what you're doing here. And I can't fault anybody in particular. I can't fault the CG. I can't fault the cinematographer. I can't fault the director or the writer or the acting. It's just, it's just mediocre.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm coming from here. It's not bad. They accomplished what they wanted to do. They told you where this character came from. They told you what her background is, not just her backstory, but her background, like where she's coming from as a person. And you set her up for whatever it is in the future. And of course, the fact that she has this connection to the Waynes and whatever the fuck else. We're not going to get into that because we're not going to watch those movies. But again, sitting here after watching all sorts of different superhero movies, even separate and apart from the MCU, there's plenty of superhero movies that we've watched not in the MCU, and those are fine. But I just wish that they would have taken the effort to make this a unique origin story and put their own spin on it rather than, in my opinion, I feel like they were cribbing from so many different sources here that it's just a mess.
Or it's uninspired in the very least.
Yeah. All right. Betsy, did you have anything else to talk about before we wrap up the month of June and Wonder Woman in general?
No, I think I've said what I wanted to say about this one. I'm really disappointed because I really wanted to like this. I really did.
I wanted it to be like this diamond in the rough that, okay, it might inspire me. Oh shit, these guys know how to make a movie. Maybe I will go back and watch the rest of them eventually. But no, if this is the best you got, and with all the controversy surrounding all of the other films, DC fans, you can keep them.
It's all yours.
I'll have my onesie twosie Batman movies here and there. We might even watch the new Joker movie that is coming out this year, apparently.
Oh, I bet we will.
All right, that is where I'm going to end Wonder Woman for now. If you would like to tell us what you thought about this movie, please do. We're not going to poo-poo your opinion just because it's different than ours. If you love this movie, I want to know why.
I want the Wonder Woman defenders to please tell me, like, what am I missing? Because I genuinely, for years, have been told this is incredible. And maybe I just misunderstood it?
Or maybe it's just in comparison to the rest of the DCU.
Yeah, maybe that's the piece we're missing.
All right. Email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We received an email from our good friend Mitch from Saskatoon entitled Movies, Movies, Movies. This is his summer. He's a teacher, so this is where he is getting caught up, apparently, watching a whole bunch of movies that we have covered, and I think maybe we haven't even covered yet, because there's one in here that he's telling us about that we haven't covered yet. So, from Mitch, he says, "Hello again, my American amigos. As promised, I have been catching up. Here are some quick snippets about Bottoms. Not sure why I watched this, as it is different from my normal taste. I listened to your episode and then it showed up on my new movie list. It was everything you said it was, but I wanted more. More gags, background stuff, and a little bit too inconsistent for me. 4 out of 10 maple syrup bottles." Of course, that's his scale for movie ratings.
Obviously.
Yeah, I could have absolutely wanted more out of Bottoms, but I think it was good enough for what it was.
We enjoyed it. Wasn't his cup of tea. That's okay.
That's okay.
I don't expect that movie to be for everyone.
Definitely not. He says Memento, which is a movie we have watched. I have only ever seen that movie once.
I've seen it many times.
I've wanted to rewatch that movie so many times.
We got to do all the Nolan movies. Just you and me. We got to rewatch them all.
He says about Memento, trying to get ready for Oppenheimer, parentheses, I haven't seen it yet, by watching the original timeline messer-upper. Loved it. 8 maple syrup bottles plus one of the little jugs that they give you at the Flapjack restaurant. Okay, so it's like 8.5.
A good review. That's what I heard.
It's a good review. Memento's a fantastic movie. I really want to watch it again. Next, he watched Inside Out 2, this brand new movie. Went with my kids. They managed to stay fresh and find more angles for our emotions, and they toy with us yet again. Success! 8 out of 10 maple scale. And I assume this is the brand new one that just came out. He watched the Garfield movie. Good and entertaining. An origin story, but not an origin story. Which, after just watching Wonder Woman, I don't really know what to make of that. Managed to capture the magic of some of the old cartoon tales that we grew up with. 7 out of 10 with whatever is left over in that bottle from the pantry. So like 7.25. Is that the kind of scale we're looking at here? I have no interest in seeing a Garfield movie.
No.
Not in the 21st century.
No.
My experience with Garfield came from the 1980s and 90s Saturday morning cartoon that Betsy and I grew up watching together.
I'll go back and watch the Garfield movies that they did for TV every so often for the holidays.
Yeah. It's based on the same animation and everything else. Those short, like themed, like longer episodes that they kind of they refer to as movies.
Yeah, I don't need them to keep trying to make a modern animated.
Stop trying to make Garfield a thing in the 21st century. You just don't need to do it. The old stuff is good enough.
Yeah, leave it alone. Leave it as it is.
Speaking of old stuff, he also watched Labyrinth. Kids' movies were definitely different in the 80s. That's an understatement. Alice in Wonderland meets Princess Bride meets Goonies and Muppets. Yeah, that's
all
a pretty
true.
good description.
All true things.
Except Goonies sucks. It came up under, quote, cult classics, but honestly, not for me. 5 out of 10, but only because of Bowie. He finishes, more movies to come my way. You guys are doing great. Have you mentioned patreon.com/neverseenitpod yet? Well, Mitch, now that you mention it, we are right now. Go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod to get all of our extra content, 4 extra shows, plus bonus content. $5 a month gets you all that shit.
What an amazing segue.
Wow. Thanks, Mitch. No, but thank you again, Mitch. Oh, excuse me. He says adios from Mitch. Thank you again, Mitch, for your email. We look forward to all of your summer movie activities.
Yes, we've already gotten a couple emails from him, and it is a wild variety, which I love.
What would it be like to be off in the summers?
Oh, that would be
seriously. I'm not a big summer guy, but just to have 3 months off from work for just, wow.
I don't know if at this point in my life I would learn to function that way. Like when you're a kid, that's just how it is.
That's just life.
But now I've done year round, every day, working for so long that if I was just given 3 months off, I think it would break my brain.
I have been working probably around 25 years, maybe not full time, but yeah, I've been working.
Just working.
A steady job. Not necessarily full-time the entire time, because of course I didn't start working until I was 15, but I am almost 40. By the way, I'm turning 40 this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could handle 3 months off. I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
No. Now we're closer to retirement than when we started working.
That's right.
Just about.
That's right. So patreon.com/neverseenitpod will help us get there. And hey, if you let us retire early,
we'll do this all the time for you.
All the time. We'll do all sorts of extra shit.
And if you're listening to us, I think you want that too. I think you want that. So come over to Patreon.
Help us out. Of course, if you don't want to do that, you could also help us out by going to your podcast app of choice, whether it is Spotify or iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating and even write us a review if you're feeling frisky.
You could also follow us on all our social media pages, share our content with your friends, because we're funny, right?
We like to think so, except when we're criticizing a beloved movie by everybody out there.
It takes some skill to criticize and be funny at the same time.
It's true. It's true. But thanks again, Mitch. Again, email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. If you want us to read that, you can be anonymous. We don't have to say your name 15 times. Mitch, Mitch, Mitch.
Mitch, Mitch, Mitch.
Tell us that you want to be anonymous and we will not say your name. No big deal. But Betsy, that is the end of our June series of lady-centric movies.
June's over.
June is over.
Already.
How the fuck did that happen? Tomorrow is July.
Because we don't get 3 months off in the summer.
It's true.
It messes with my brain.
But Betsy, we are continuing the episodes for this podcast. It doesn't end just because it's a new month. So why don't you tell the people what we're starting in July?
Well, we're doing something that is a series, but not a series, because it's called Potpourri. And if you know what potpourri is, it means we're doing a little of everything.
A little bit of everything. This is contrary to what Betsy just said. This is not a series.
No, it really isn't.
We are literally just doing, I would say, I think 6 movies. We have 6 movies lined up that we are going to be covering, whether they're old movies or new movies, for the next about month and a half. We are going to just be doing whatever the fuck we want.
Cleaning up that list that has been burning a hole in our pocket, as it were.
Little bit. But next week, Betsy, what are we doing next week? Tell the people.
Well, we've talked about it on the show before, but we're going to be doing a movie that Trent hasn't seen from a filmmaker that is quite well known now. We are going back to the early 2000s, and we are watching Rian Johnson's Brick.
Brick, his first movie that I'm aware of anyway.
I think it was his directorial debut, yes.
We've already covered 2 of his other movies, so hey, I'm very much looking forward to this one. I think you are recommending it because you really liked it, and I like Rian Johnson. I like all of Rian Johnson's movies that I've seen so far. Yeah, Brick is going to be next week. So come back for that. But until then, my name is Trent.
And my name is Betsy.
We will catch you in July.
Bye, everyone.